wrong one. And can you see that okay?
Yes, I can see your screen.
Amazing. Okay, so let's start this slideshow. So fantastic. Right, so thank you very much for joining my session today. My name is Peter Rising, and today I'll be talking to you about when to choose a SharePoint site, a Teams channel, or a Yammer community. And we'll try and figure out the answer to the question, if there is an answer, which is the right Microsoft 365 tool for the job. So, next slide. There we go. So a little bit about me. As I said, my name is Peter Rising. I currently work as a senior technical consultant in the public cloud team at an organization here in the UK called Softcat PLC. We work with everything 365, right from Exchange Online, SharePoint Online, Teams, OneDrive, you name it, all sorts of flavors of migrations and getting our customers on board and taking advantage of all the good stuff within, plus making sure that they are secure and compliant as well with things like enterprise mobility and security and compliance policies and so on and so forth. So if you want to connect with me, you can reach me on Twitter at M365Rising. I'm also on LinkedIn as Peter Rising, all one word. I'm also very active on the Microsoft Tech community, which is a wonderful place to connect with some great people who are active in our wonderful wider Microsoft community. It's a great place if you're struggling with any issues to ask questions. So I'm on there quite a bit, and that is my profile there. You can see if you want to engage with me on there. And I have some Microsoft certifications along the bottom there, one or two of the badges I've picked up in my travels. And I'm also, earlier this year, published my first book, which is Microsoft 365 Security Administration MS500 Exam Guide. I'm actually currently working on my second book with my wonderful co-author, Nate Chamberlain, who's a Microsoft MVP, on the MS700 exam. So that's going to be coming out in the next few months. And recently I was very honored and privileged to be awarded the Microsoft MVP Award. So that's a bit about me. Feel free to reach out. I'm always happy to hear from anybody about all things M365. So what we will do is we will have a quick journey through the services that we're going to be evaluating. We'll start with SharePoint, then we'll have a look at Teams, excuse me, and then we'll finish with Yammer. In a sense, we've kind of maybe got those in the wrong order because Yammer is perhaps the, to use an analogy, it's almost like the forgotten middle child. So maybe I should have done Yammer middle, but that's beside the point. But SharePoint. So let's just make sure that we all know what SharePoint is. What is SharePoint? So in Microsoft's own words, organizations use Microsoft SharePoint to create websites, and you can use it as a secure place to store, organize, share, and access information from any device. All you need is a web browser such as Microsoft Edge or Internet Explorer or Chrome or Firefox. Now, SharePoint predominantly consists of sites. Sites are spaces within SharePoint or places within SharePoint where you can store content. And there are different kinds of sites. So what does a SharePoint site actually provide? Let me just minimize this. Well, predominantly there are two types of main site. There is a communication site, which enables you to publish dynamic and stunning content to all the people in your organization and inform them on and engage on topics, events, or projects. So that's really a communication tool, hence the term communication site. Then for more collaborative purposes, you will have a team site, which enables you to share documents, have conversations with your team, keep track of events and manage tasks, and more, with a site connected with a Microsoft 365 group. The Microsoft 365 groups are quite key in terms of SharePoint and in terms of Teams. So those are the two main types of sites. Communication, think of a communication site as somewhere where you would have your intranet landing page, a very visual hub where information, content can be prominently displayed. Things like a company-wide news feed, quick links, links to departmental team sites, and so on and so forth. And then the team sites, you'll have your traditional sort of files and folders in there, document libraries, tasks, and anything specific to that team. And that's all controlled with permissions, either built-in SharePoint permissions groups, or you can use Azure AD groups as well. And then finally, there are some other options that you can create sites. You can create a new team site without a Microsoft 365 group, or you can create a document center, an enterprise wiki, a publishing portal, or a site. So the next slide, this shows a typical example of a communication site out of the box with SharePoint Online. This is a very, very visual one. They have got the company logo on the top left, where the letter H is, and the title there, landing page, as the landing, very appropriate. But I always think it's very important to name your SharePoint site, give it a very, very strong identity, and call it something relevant. So I've seen them called the landing or the hub or things like that. But giving a good recognizable name will help with its identity. The very visual top web part, as they're called, because SharePoint sites are made up of web parts, which administrators can edit. You'll see on the top right here, there is an edit button, and that bar there is only visual if you are an administrator for SharePoint. But this area here, this is what's called a hero web part, and this displays very, very prominent content in a very visual way. Some people like that, some people are not so fussed on it. Some people like to get more functional content in, like a news feed and quick links on the right here more immediately. But that's an example of what a SharePoint communications intranet landing page can look like. And this is something that you can get access to very, very easily from the SharePoint lookbook that Microsoft have. There's lots of templates like this that you can go and have a look at and take advantage of. And it's very, very easy to get something very stunning for your intranet in place now, without any real effort, and without, more importantly, having to know any coding. Microsoft are all about low code these days, with things like Power Apps, obviously, that you've heard about previously today. But it's so much easier than it used to be in the old world of classic SharePoint sites. So that is a communication site. The next slide here, this is an example of a typical team site. So this one is a leadership team. It's a public group in this case. You can have public groups, you can have private groups, and you control who has access to this content by site permissions. So here we've got, again, and you can change these. Everything here you see is a web part. This news feed here is a web part. The quick links is a web part. Documents, web part. Activity, web part. And if you edit that page, you can move these around. And we'll not touch too much on this in terms of going through the slides. This is just to give you a quick sort of flavor of what each of these services does. And when we get to the point of doing a bit of demo time later on, we can have a little bit of a play and see how that looks. So, questions. Why use a SharePoint site? So, communication sites. You would use a communication site as your modern intranet landing page to publish dynamic content to your organization, to take advantage of customizable web parts, and also there is the ability to configure, which we've not touched on yet, hub navigation elements. Now, hub navigation is something that is very, very good in SharePoint. It doesn't have to be used on a communication site, but typically from an intranet landing page, I like to configure hub navigation. And what that does is that it makes things like the team sites and other sites within your SharePoint environment, it ties them back to that hub. So they're going to get that consistent hub menu navigation experience right throughout SharePoint. Then we have team sites. So why would you use a team site? You would use a team site to collaborate on documents. And it's also linked to Microsoft 365 groups. And then the other site options that we mentioned briefly, you can use those to have things like document centers, enterprise wikis, publishing portals, or a project web app site. But very much typically the communication sites and the team sites are the most commonly used SharePoint sites. So that's a very brief introduction to SharePoint. Let's quickly move on. We'll talk a little bit about Teams next. I think we all know what is Teams. I think everybody has been using Teams, even pre-pandemic life, the weird and wonderful world that we now are living in. Teams was already Microsoft's fastest adopted product in their history, and it's bizarre to think that it's probably about 3 years old now, I think. It seems like in many ways it's been around forever, but in other ways it still feels like the new kid on the block. But again, to describe it, Teams is, in Microsoft's own description, is a workspace within Microsoft 365 that brings together people, conversations, and content. And Microsoft Teams, you can meet, chat, call, and collaborate with everyone you work with all in one place. And it's really becoming that more and more. It's really becoming a place where you can start your computer in the morning, you can log in from Teams, and there is very, very little reason to leave Teams after that. You can do pretty much everything within Microsoft Teams. They're adding so much more all the time, connectors, apps, all sorts of things are being baked in that make Teams the place to go to collaborate. So in Teams, I'm sure you'll be very, very aware that, and again, we can have a little bit of a drive through a bit later in demo time. What is a Teams channel and what does a Teams channel provide? Well, a channel is essentially a folder. So when you first start using Microsoft Teams, a standard team comes with a general channel. You can add other channels into there, and the channels include tabs. So Teams channels have workspace tabs, which can include chat, files, wiki, and there are many, many custom tabs as well. So we can see an example here in the pictures of what that looks like. So this top one here, you can see this is the chat experience under posts. We've got files highlighted here, and you can see files and folders there and the modified dates. Here we have the chat. At the bottom there, we can see that rich chat experience, which we're all familiar with and have worked with probably for many years before Teams even. I mean, Teams in the sense of chat is very much an evolution of Skype for Business, and then before that Link, and so on and so forth. And then we can add, we can add these additional connectors and apps into our Teams, and this illustrates very, very much how Teams can be used to access pretty much anything. It is your go-to workspace, and this is what it looks like. This shows us way more effectively than those little round circles on the previous slide. So here we go. This is Teams, and obviously on the left side menu we've got the if I can move my mouse, there we go. We have activity, we've got chat, we've got Teams, which is highlighted here. This is the Teams view, so we can see all the teams that are in this instance of Teams. We can see that the team name, underneath that we've got a channel which is general, and that's an example of a standard team. Then beneath that we've got some more defined teams. We've got teams here with some additional channels and some custom channels. We've got Sales East, we've got Sales West, and you'll notice that some of them are highlighted in bold as well. So when they're highlighted in bold, that means that there is some new activity in that team to draw your attention to it. So on the right hand side here, we can see in this particular team that we're highlighting right now, the general channel is highlighted, and these are the three standard tabs that we have within our general channel within our Microsoft team. So we've got posts for chat, we've got files for file sharing, the wiki, which in my experience doesn't get used very much. I don't know, I'd be interested to hear who uses that very much, and then the plus sign, we can add more connectors and apps in there. And you can very quickly as well initiate an ad hoc meeting from within the team as well. So that is Teams. So let me just unpin that because that seems to be stopping me from trying that. There we go. Right. So why use a Teams channel? So Teams itself is a one-stop shop. Most workloads in M365 can now be accessed within Microsoft Teams. So a Teams channel provides a shared workspace for project teams to collaborate. There's the ability to set your channels as private channels, which is good if you have any sensitive or confidential content. It may be that you have an executive team who need a private channel within a team. They want to work within a particular team, but they need that executive private space that only they can get access to. It provides you with the best of both worlds as well. Files within Teams channels can also be opened in the back end with the built-in SharePoint site that comes with every team. When you create a team, you're going to get a SharePoint site connected to the Microsoft 365 group that is the backbone of the team. So also Yammer, the Yammer app, we'll be getting to Yammer very, very shortly, but the Yammer app is also available in Teams now. So as we're going through this very, very quick introduction to these three services, we haven't even talked about Yammer yet. Are we already answering the question, is Teams the best because we can access SharePoint and Yammer from within it? Who knows? We will find out. And then even more integration is coming. The SharePoint home pages. That's not entirely accurate, actually. I should correct this statement. SharePoint home pages will soon be able to be accessed within Teams. That is a feature that is on the way. It was announced at Ignite and will rumored to be available in March, early 2021. So that's a slight error on my part there on the slide. So that's Teams. Then we come to Yammer. Yammer is, shall we say, in my experience anyway, you might argue, I'm interested to hear everyone's point of view on this, but it's kind of the unloved child of Microsoft in terms of collaboration. I have not used it an awful lot myself. I struggle to understand its value at times. So, but saying that, in preparing this presentation for you today, I've looked more at Yammer than I have done in quite some time, and thought, oh, that's actually kind of cool. I can see where that would be useful. So what is it? It's an enterprise social network. Effectively, it's a social networking tool to openly connect and engage across your organization. And in Microsoft's own words again, Yammer is the faster and smarter way to share and collaborate with everyone at your company. It's a one-to-all tool, and that is going to be key in the decision-making process of any organization looking to answer the question that we're trying to answer here today: which tool do I use? You've got to bring it back to why. What am I looking to achieve, and why do I want to do it, and make the tool fit your requirements. So Yammer works with communities. They were previously known as groups, but now they've evolved into communities. So what does a Yammer community provide? Well, there are 6 key things to it here. It enables senior leadership to engage with employees. Employee engagement from the senior leadership teams of organizations is a very effectively done within Yammer. Now, how that would be done in a more traditional, an older way, if you like, would be company-wide emails. It's still quite common for a CEO or a managing director or a top-level executive to communicate to the entire organization via email, but it's very impersonal. Yammer enables that one-to-all, that executive to all the organization. It enables that communication in a much more user-friendly way, and promotes feedback, promotes engagement. And this is where I and many of my consultant colleagues who I've discussed Yammer with, because Yammer is very Marmite. You seem to either get it or you don't. You love it or you hate it. And the consultants who I've worked with who love it say that this is one of the things that it does well. Senior leadership people understand what it's there for, and they like it as a communication tool to reach their whole organization. So that's one thing. And then we have the fact that employees can join communities that interest them. You can set up communities, which are very, very much like teams. Very similar principle to setting up a team. You can set up a community for a sales group or an operations group or anything. And when you sign into Yammer from your Microsoft 365 account, you can go and pick the communities that you want to join if they are public, because this leads us on to the third point. You can have private and even secret Yammer communities which can be created. So private are sort of invite only, but are visible. They will be discoverable by everybody. But then you have the very, very secret ones which are members only and cannot be seen publicly. We have enterprise social knowledge sharing. So sharing is easy. Think of it like Facebook. Yammer is essentially, at its core, it's a business version of Facebook. It's a social knowledge sharing and communication platform, and it's very, very easy, as we'll see when we have a little look at it, to make a quick post and share things socially and engage in that way. And it also enables you to create external networks with partners and customers as well. It's not just an internal tool. You can configure it for external use with anyone that you want to engage with. The same as always is true of SharePoint and Teams as well, but Yammer is no slouch. Yammer does not fall behind in that ability to communicate with external parties. And finally, it's better for general announcements and questions across a wider audience. So you can do announcements and polls and that sort of thing. Not something that you can't do in Teams, for example, but it probably just flows that little bit better in a more easier and social way, much like a social media platform. This is how the Yammer feed looks. When you log into Yammer, you get this feed here, the home feed and an inbox, and this is highlighting the My Communities level, which is the top level where you can see everything that you're a part of. And you can see here it's very easy to share an idea, ask a question, or post whatever is on your mind. You can ask this question here. You can click on the praise button to praise a colleague and do a quick poll. And then, of course, you can click on any of the individual communities that you may be a member of. You can discover communities and join the ones that are of interest to you if indeed they are open and not private or secret. Why would you use a Yammer community? So these are the reasons. One, to build employee communities. We all want our teams, no pun intended, we all want our employees to work together effectively and openly. Number two, to promote open organizational communication and sharing of ideas. Number three, executives will get it. This is something that I'm finding more and more, talking with the top level executives of organizations who are my customers. They seem to get Yammer as a means of reaching their audience, of reaching their organization's employees. Number four, extend Yammer to external groups and networks. It's not just an internal tool. You can configure it to your partners and customers. If you want to get them into your Yammer communities, that is something you can do. And number five, it's designed to communicate quickly and easily with a wide organizational audience. So that brings us very, very nicely to demo time. That's been a very, very quick sort of introduction to the three services, platforms, whatever you want to call them, that we're looking at today. So we'll switch gears now and we will jump into our demo tenant environment, which I should have over here. So here we have an Office 365 tenant, and the first page that we have open is SharePoint. This is just to expand on the demo that we did a little bit earlier on in the presentation. This is the communication site that we were looking at, the landing page. And to give you an idea of how easy it is to work with these, let's just scroll down and see a bit more of it, for example. This is very, very, very customizable. You can see the sort of content that you can add on here. And this is a wonderful means of giving your employees access to company-wide information as a communication site. It's linking in here to this looks very, very much like a Yammer web part, actually. But we can check that. You can see how easy it is to edit these web parts if you are an editor. So now we are in edit mode, and we can see that once we finished making our changes, we can republish our page. So these are all web parts. So let's take a look at this one and see what it is. So if we highlight the web part, this is conversations. So let's just edit that web part. And yeah, community, user, topic, home feed. This is linked to Yammer very much so. So you can configure how many conversations to show, for example. These web parts are very, very customizable, and can be moved around. You can delete them, you can move them, you can do all sorts of things with views. It's absolutely limitless what you can do with these sort of things. If, for example, you didn't want this hero web part on, as I alluded to earlier, you could quickly just go in and delete that web part, and instead you're going to have a blank space there now. But if we were to republish, you could discard the changes if you accidentally did that and you didn't want to commit that. But I've decided I don't want that, so I'm going to republish that. And now I've got maybe a little more of a straight into business mode sort of landing page. So that is a very sort of quick look at how you can edit those web parts and get your communication site, your intranet landing page working for you and customizing it. What you can also do is you can if we have a look in the site contents, we can get a look at what's within this site. So we can see in here we've got some document libraries. It consists mainly of document libraries, but there are also some other things that we can have within our SharePoint sites. This is true of communication sites or team sites. Not just document libraries though. We can have page libraries. We can have events lists. There's all sorts of content that we can add into a SharePoint site. Lists are something you may have heard a lot about recently because Microsoft have recently launched lists as an app within Microsoft 365 on a personal level. How that differs, if you think about lists in the context of SharePoint, these are lists published within a site which are available to anyone who's in that SharePoint site, whereas lists within personal or individual Microsoft 365 is just for you as an individual user, much like OneDrive. It's the comparison between OneDrive and SharePoint. So very easy to create a list from in here. Very powerful stuff that you can do. You can create lists, pages, document libraries, apps, subsites. The possibilities are endless. Now, I did mention earlier as well hub sites as well. Now, let me just demonstrate what that looks like. A hub site, if I go into the SharePoint Admin Center, this will give you an idea of what hub sites are. So if I just look for my site and just go back to my search for landing, hopefully, there it is. So this is our landing page. You can see here at the top here, I have the option to make this a hub site. So if I click on hub, just get rid of that, I can register this as a hub site. Okay, so hub name is the landing. People who can associate sites with this hub, you can give permissions to do so. So we can add in some people. We can put all company members or everyone except external users. Let's just go for all company members in this example. And we will update our site. Okay, that is done. So the other thing that I mentioned as well is permissions. We can manage who has admin permissions to our SharePoint site. So you can set administrators here who can do all the tasks that we were doing on in the previous screen of editing that home page and modifying the web part, if you like. So we can add people into there should we need to. But the other good thing about hub sites, now that we've done that here, let's pick on, we'll clear that out of there. We shall just pick on another random site. Let's go for this drone workshop site. Let's highlight that and hub association. We could do that from here as well. There's two places you can do the hub site connection. We could highlight it here and go to hub and then associate with hub site, or we can do it within here as well, hub association. We can edit that. And now we have got, there were already some hub sites set up actually, so we could have selected any one of these ones, but we'll associate it with the landing page, which we just set up as a hub site. So now what that means is, if we close that off, if we go to the site, didn't need to close it off. We should be, there we go. We can now see the landing is our hub. So if we click on that, it takes us back to our hub, takes us back to our hub landing page. So what we can do here on the landing page, if we add a link now, we can add in a link to well, to anywhere really. Let's just go to Google. We'll just put in the text for that. Okay. And then if we save that, we've got another link there. So now if we go back to our drawn site, there we go. We've got our consistent hub site navigation at the top there. The other really nice thing you can do from the from a links point of view, if we edit these links, there is a really nice feature here called audience targeting, which you can enable, or if you want to. And what that does, it enables you to choose who can see that content. So maybe Google is not a particularly good. Oh yes, here we go. So what you can do here is, if you edit each item in the hub navigation on any of these links, you can choose here who gets to see it. So if we can find a group, there we go. So Contoso Life members. If we selected Contoso Life members and say OK, then anybody who is not an administrator or not in this particular audience targeting group membership will now not be able to see that Google link. That has in fact disappeared even for me because I've done so. So you get the idea of what that can do. So that is SharePoint. Let's just move on a little bit to Teams and see the sort of things we can do within Teams. I mean, Teams has a big advantage at the moment. It's the product that everybody is talking about. And an example of what I was alluding to earlier is, if within Teams you go to apps and do a quick search for, I mean, there's tons of apps, an absolute plethora of apps that we can add into here and leverage right from within Microsoft Teams. But Yammer, for example, if I do a search for Yammer, I've got the Communities app, which I can now add right into SharePoint. Not SharePoint, into Teams. So there it is. There is my Yammer Communities right within Microsoft Teams. I can see everything here within Teams that I can see in this Yammer screen, the same content, the communities, the leadership, all of that good stuff. So that is very, very powerful indeed. I don't have to leave Teams to work in Yammer, which is quite amazing. Whilst we're here, let's demonstrate some of the features of Yammer. While we're here, we can do a quick world post within Yammer, and we can add content within that post. We can add questions or praise or polls. Let's just add in a poll, for example, and we don't have to get too clever with it. We can just post that. Wants me to put some content in, but okay. Let's be posting. Just okay, and then we can. Oh, I've got to add a community in and add in leadership, and now I can ask the question. You can see how familiar I am with Yammer. You can tell how often I use it. It's not it's not a tool that I gravitate to very often, hence why I didn't know quite how to use it properly there. But there we go. We've just done a quick poll in Yammer within Teams. We can go and discover our communities in Yammer right within Teams. Although in this case, what it's doing when you click on discover, it's actually taking you out of that Teams experience and into the sort of more fuller, richer experience of Yammer itself. So this is where you can see all of the communities that are recommended for you, or all communities. So this is an example of how executives communicate while using Yammer, CEO connection. So we can run this Yammer community. It's available to us. So if we go ahead and click on join, we've got that now, and we should be able to get straight to it from here as well. We'll ignore that. So this is where this sort of communication from the top level of organizations comes right into play. You see the sort of announcements that are made here from the top level of the organization. Now this is it. Excuse me. It's important to point out that this is in the browser actually. So what has happened there is Yammer has opened in its own browser window. So but we should be able to jump straight back into Teams there. The experience of using Teams from the app rather than the browser, that will probably be a little bit different. I don't know if I can't really show you that effectively whilst I'm actually demonstrating from Teams, but it may well be that it's a little bit different from within the Teams app itself. So the Yammer Communities app is now shown there. If I were to close out of it, excuse me, it will disappear. If you wanted that there all the time, then what you can do is you should have the ability to pin that. Yes, you can pin that to your left sidebar so that when you click through the applications within Teams, it should remain there, but it didn't. So I don't know what I did wrong there. Let's just try that again. Yammer Communities. Let's just. It's still pinned. Okay. The perils of live demoing. That I'm sure that worked before, but you get the idea. You should be able to pin apps there within Microsoft Teams. Quite often, what you will find as well as Teams users, if you're not Teams administrators yourself, if you're just using Teams as a user, is that your admins can pin certain apps to your Teams bar here, so they have the ability to change things around, and there's a lot of control over what you can do. Now that's an interesting point actually to get to about all three of these experiences in terms of how much administrative control is there over those services. So let's take a very quick look at that, just being mindful of time. So if we go to admin.teams.microsoft, this will take us to the Teams Admin Center, and this is a hugely rich experience. This has come a long way in the last couple of years. Probably a year and a half ago, I don't think this even existed. You still had the older Scout for Business Admin Center with a Teams bit that you could access from the Office 365 services and add-ins. So this is amazing from where it was. But there is a lot of control here for Teams in terms of how you manage your teams within Microsoft 365. Global administrators or team service administrators, various other administrators, privilege roles can get to this area, and you can control, edit the teams, add teams. We can control and configure Teams policies. We can assign policies via group policy assignment. All sorts of good stuff you can do. One of the more recent features that has been added is the ability to use team templates. This is a really great thing, where when creating a team, you might have a certain set of channels and apps that you want to set up with that new team. So let's just take a look at what that looks like in the Teams client. If we go to click on join or create a team, let's go and create one. Hopefully we've got the new experience here. We do, yeah. So when creating a team, we can create one from scratch or from a group or from another team. But now I've got these templates here which correspond with what I was showing you in there, which are settings for that team. So Adopt Office 365 is going to come with 5 channels. It's going to give you not just the default general channel, it's going to give you an announcement channel and Champions Corner and Teams Forms, and it's going to give you one application, which is a wiki. So let's go ahead and add that. In fact, we have the choice whether we want to make this private or public. So this is a Adopt 365 template, so we'll make it public. We want everyone to be able to see this. So let's just call it exactly that. Let's just go Adopt M365. We can give a quick description if we want to, but we don't have to, and so I won't. And go ahead and create it. So should take just a couple of moments to create the team. Waiting. Okay, that's taking a little while longer than I would normally expect, but we shall just give it a few seconds more and hopefully it will catch up. Okay, we can come back to that. It seems to be taking a little while. But we were talking about admin capabilities. We'll check back on that in a second. But within the Teams Admin Center, there's a whole host of stuff that you can do admin-wise. You can configure devices for Teams rooms, phones, collaboration bars, all sorts of devices that are becoming more and more popular for use with Teams. You can set your business locations, emergency addresses, and your network topologies. You can configure your network locations and add in all your Wi-Fi access points and switches and that sort of thing. Maybe it's not so relevant in the unfortunate COVID-19 world that we're all living in now. We're all working from home, but good to have nonetheless. If we ever get back into our offices, we can see all of our M365 users from here as well that our Teams enabled. We can have a look at our meetings settings, our meetings policies, meeting settings, what people can do in meetings, what features are available to them, and a whole host of policies that can be applied for the settings that people will have in their Teams experience, whether or not they can meet now in channels, or who gets IP video, and who can screen share, that sort of thing. All sorts of great stuff. We could probably have an entire talk on its own about Teams policies, so we'll not dwell on that too much. Messaging policies are the same, live events policies. Teams apps, we can control the apps that we have within Teams. What are the org-wide app settings that are available to our users? Are third-party apps allowed? Custom apps, which are apps that you produce yourself and sideload into Microsoft Teams, as the term goes. All sorts of good stuff. Voice and policy packages. Org-wide settings, that's an important one, configuring your external and guest access for Teams. Can your users communicate with Skype for Business or Skype consumer versions? You can allow or disallow that, or you can add specific domains that you want to communicate with that are allowed or blocked. So lots of control over Microsoft Teams. That really rich features for that. So going back to the Teams client, is our team ready? We can add some members here if we want to. So let's just go ahead and Adele as a member. We can add her in there, and we can decide whether we want Adele to be a member or an owner. We'll just leave her as a member just now and click on close. So here is our Adopt M365 team. Now I don't really want that down at the bottom there. I'm going to drag that right at the top. I want that prominent for my use. So we can see here that it's got the general channel and it's got 4 hidden channels. These are the channels that came with a template. What you can do is you can just decide, do you want to show those? They don't have to remain hidden. So if I click on show, the announcements one is going to be in there, which is absolutely great. So what else have we got? We've got the calendar, we've got the Champions Corner, all ready to go for users to take advantage of. So Teams, a lot of rich settings. The same can be said of SharePoint. SharePoint's Admin Center, a lot of control in here over what you can do with the sites, the permissions. If we have a look at our one of our sites, our team site, we can have a look at site permissions, for example. There's a lot of good control that we have here. If we go into advanced permission settings, I always find that easier to work with than this quick view. And you can assign individual users to your SharePoint sites if you want to. That's not particularly the best practice in my experience to do so, but you can do it. But when you set up a brand new SharePoint site, you get 3 default groups. You get members, owners, and visitors. So visitors can view the content, members can read and write, edit the content, owners have full permission, they can do anything within the site. So there's a lot of good permissions within SharePoint that you can do, a lot of control when setting up sites. Yeah, sharing settings, all sorts of good stuff. Yammer, as I've already admitted, I don't know Yammer as well as I know SharePoint and Teams, but there are things that you can do in here as well from an administrative perspective. So you can edit the settings here in Yammer. Let's see what capabilities that we've got. So this is from a personal point of view, your personal settings. What I was more interested in, actually, if I go back, is just a second. Let's just go back to my feed. Okay, let's try that one again. Network admin settings, choose the right one. So here we go. And there's a fair few settings in here for Yammer from an administrative point of view, actually. So they have this really nice thing here, a success criteria. So what you can do here is it sort of guides you through a checklist of configuring your Yammer. So your Yammer network is activated in a particular region. You might want to update your company logo, so you can check that one. You've done it, add users to their network, set usage policies, write a welcome message. That's really cool. Configuration settings, there's lots of settings that you can do here. The network name, message prompts, managing your network's domains, email settings, lots of rich features. Our third-party applications enabled, all sorts of good stuff. Design stuff, admins, current admins, change the status of Microsoft 365 admins. So this gives control over who can do what with Yammer. Set a usage policy, set up external networks, all sorts of really great stuff. So I appreciate I've jumped around a little bit, but I sort of go where I think of things as I think of them. But that has hopefully given you a very quick sort of drive through the 3 services or applications that we're talking about here, and giving you an idea of what they can do. So SharePoint, very much an intranet, very much a collaboration space. Teams, the same sort of collaboration, but meetings and chat as well. Teams is everything. There's very little you can't do in Teams now, and it's getting better all the time. They're adding rich features and functionality to it daily, it seems. There's frequent updates with Teams. And Yammer is Yammer, but you can tell how much I love it. But there are plenty of people who do. There are plenty of people who do love Yammer and use it. It wouldn't have lasted this long if that wasn't the case, for sure. And last year, from Ignite 2019, was the year of Yammer, apparently. So there you go. But this doesn't answer our question. So let's go back to our slides and let's see if we've drawn any conclusions from our quick sort of whistle-stop tour through place. One moment. Back to so after our demo. So from current slide, thank you. So the big question that we all want to know the answer to, which do I choose? The answer is, as you might have guessed, it depends. It very much depends. The way to decide is getting back to that question of why and what. What do I want to do within my organization will get you to the answer of the question of which tool, which service you should adopt. There is no right or wrong answer, and it may be that you'll need one or two of these, or all three of these for various teams and departments within your own organizations or your own personal use. There is no reason not to use SharePoint, Yammer, and Teams. And in fact, they all link to each other very, very strongly. Some people think that Microsoft have too many collaboration tools and it gets confusing. But I would flip that on its side and say that it's really, really great to have choice. People like to work in different ways. Different organizations like to work in different ways. And Yammer might well be a better fit for some organizations than SharePoint or than Teams, for example. Not everybody's going to love Teams. I'd like to meet the person who doesn't, but there's going to be someone who doesn't get it. So it all comes down to what is logically going to work for you as an organization, what's going to tick your boxes in terms of any internal policies you have for how certain tools work in terms of how they share. I mean, Yammer, Teams, and SharePoint all have sharing capabilities in a very similar sense, and also any sort of regulatory compliance standards that you are bound by as an organization. So there's lots of decision points, but the most important thing to be aware of is that only you can decide. There is no right or wrong answer. So it was a bit of a trick question. So I apologize if I've misled you a little bit, because there really is no answer. It's very much and it depends. So I hope that was useful to you all. I hope you've got something out of that, and I would be happy to take some questions from your.
Wow, this is so amazing, Peter. I never ever thought so deep about all these collaboration tools that you mentioned than today. I feel really blessed of being part of this session. I have got to learn a lot. I think the first time I heard of Yammer was when I joined the MVP program, when I was accepted and awarded the MVP. That was the first time I heard of Yammer. Yeah. I think it's and it's really a collaborative tool that, you know, we MVPs use it very much as opposed to how I come from the student partner community as well, and they also use Microsoft Teams very much. But I think the MVP level, we use more of the Yammer as compared to, you know, using Teams. So it's really great, you know, having this demo. I've never seen it being so cool like this before, and I'm really excited to have been part of this session. Ramiro, you still available?
Yes, I'm still here.
Awesome. So Ramiro also does a lot about SharePoint. Just a quick chat over there. I mean, for users who have not heard of SharePoint, just to ask you, what are some of the benefits you think, you know, why should I use SharePoint?
So, you know, I would recommend people look at SharePoint for many reasons. One of them I would say is just inside of SharePoint, as I showed you guys earlier, you can create lists which can act almost, you can think of them almost like very, very powerful Excel tables. And functionally, they could work the same. And then you could also store your documents in there. One of the benefits that really come with storing your documents inside of SharePoint is you can then add metadata to those documents. So you can treat the library or the folder where you're saving your files as another list and add more information instead of just a file name. So you can go ahead and search for files and find them in a more effective way in your organization.
Amazing. Amazing. So folks, you just heard about, you know, Ramiro talking about SharePoint. Ramiro has great knowledge in SharePoint. And anything to add over there, Peter, about SharePoint?
No, I would echo everything that Ramiro just said there. I think that SharePoint is such a great platform. I mean, it's been around for such a long time now, way back in the early 2000s, and it's come such a long, long way. And the experiences that you can have with it now are limitless. There was maybe 3 or 4 years ago, before they had the modern site experiences that we now are lucky enough to have within SharePoint. The classic site experiences were a lot more difficult, more challenging to make look visually appealing, visually stunning, and more like a professional intranet, if you like. So back then, we had a lot of customers saying to us, this doesn't look good enough. So they went off and looked at intranet in a box solutions, which could either be used instead of or in front of SharePoint. You don't have to do that now. The SharePoint lookbook lets you spin up amazing looking intranets and sites for all sorts of purposes in minutes. So it's amazing, absolutely amazing.
Amazing, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just super excited to hear about, all these collaboration tools that, I think once again, I got to know about SharePoint, I think when I was trying out Power Apps, when I was learning, and that's just a year ago. So I didn't know much about SharePoint then. So I think these are really like collaboration tools that we are not really exposed to. And sadly, this part of where we are, we were, at least my mind and a lot of people that I know were just limited to knowing about this, Microsoft Office, Power App, not even Power Apps, like PowerPoint, Excel was, the scope that we could get to. But I think we've come a very long way, and then this boot camp is really, really, an exciting thing. And you've all just opened our scope to, know more beyond what we knew. So thank you so much for doing this with us.
Oh, it's an absolute pleasure. I've really enjoyed it.
Yeah, and the recording is going to be available as well. So we'll promote the recording very much to ensure a wider range of audience are able to hear from us. We had over 170 people joining in and out, and we had quite a number of people who joined in pair. And then my link was clicked since the session began. Let me see, what's the number here? Let me refresh here. Yeah, people have been joining in and out. Yeah.
Oh.
So my link was clicked, and I think 151 people joined in from Ghana. We had over 60 people joining in from India. We had 5 people from United Kingdom, and then we have 4 more other places that people join in from. So it's really exciting. Has been great, doing this with all of you. Thank you so much for dedicating your time. I know it's working hours, and then you all did this. So thank you very much. Let me share my screen, and then let's play some fun game to end the session.
I've just placed a link in the chat, by the way, just for the SharePoint lookbook, if anyone wants to take a look, because that's really worth having a look at. I probably should have showed you that on the presentation, but it's awesome. There if anyone wants to take a look. It's really cool.
Awesome. So I'm just going to take that, and then I'll drop it inside the Q&A for the attendees to follow up on it. So let me just drop it here. Okay, I just dropped it in the Q&A, so you'll be able to pick it up. Thank you so much for being super active. Let's see who gets to win, more water bottle, and then some t-shirts and some swags. Okay,
Ramiro will put it in there. Ramiro beat me to it. He's put it
in. Okay. Ramiro, thanks so much. And Ramiro, it's really amazing, doing this with you. Okay, so people are asking of, the slide. Is it something you share? Because most slides are not shareable, but I know.
I'd be happy to share the slides, no problem at all. I can get those over to you, Dawood, and we can
awesome.
Put those up somewhere.
That's great. Thank you so much for doing all this. I think there's a question in the chat. Let's just answer it quickly before we go. How can a user check what permission have been granted to them?
Right, that's a good question, actually. Let me just take a little look within. Now it sounds like that's a SharePoint question, but it could be a Teams question, or it could be a Yammer question. So but let's think of it as a SharePoint question.
Yeah, I think okay. Basically, let's say when I was in the Microsoft Student Partner community, now it's Microsoft Learn Ambassador community. We wanted to, use when COVID started and we all had to do more of, virtual events. We heard of, people talking about live session, and we didn't know about live session. And I think one of the reasons was that when you go to schedule a meeting, you will not see the live session over there initially. But those that sleep in other organizations were able to, find out that, hey, there's something called live session. And when they mentioned it to us, I mean, we started asking our program manager that, hey, you know what, we've had live session is there, it's the big deal here. And right now in the chat, I mean, this meeting is on live session, it's not just Teams meeting. Teams meeting, you could have been shouting that, hey, can you mute yourself? So all those stuff have been prevented. So I think once it becomes, you are granted some permissions to use some things, you will be able to see it. And I think the way that you get to realize some new features might also be that, you stay in touch with the Microsoft Twitter handle, and then maybe for Office 365, stay in touch with the 365 handle and all those stuff. Or what do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's exactly right. I think within SharePoint, as an example, if you click on the cogwheel, you should be able to see your permissions from within there, or it should be very, very obvious what you do have access to. I mean, if you're accessing a landing page, for example, or a team site, I would flip that question around and say, is there anything that you do not have access to that you think you should have? And then it's very easy within SharePoint, for example, to request that access. If you click on a site and you don't have permission, then you can fill in a form and say, I want to request access to this, and then it will be reviewed by a site administrator who can say yes or no, this person can or can't have access to that. So there's lots of good options on that, and there's use your IT teams, use your M365 administrators, and get them to educate you and support you on how they have set things up in your organization, because that's also a really key piece of advice I find. No two Office 365 deployments or Microsoft 365 deployments are the same. Everyone does things, everyone's unique, every organization is unique, and they do things slightly differently. So try and engage with your IT teams, your IT administrators who have given you this technology, spend some time with them, understand how it's been set up, and take advantage, hopefully, of connections that have been set up on these platforms if they've put anything out, like adopting that 365 team, for example.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. I mean, this is a must do thing, and we are so much grateful that you took time to join us all this while, and you have tons of questions, we know. Is there a way to extract the closed captions as transcripts from live events? Yes, live events allows you to download the transcripts from a live event. Should my team members have an Office 365 account before they can join Microsoft Teams, Yammer, or SharePoint? Would you want to answer that?
You don't have to have a Microsoft. I mean, it's probably better if you do. It's, in my opinion, but you don't have to. I mean, anybody can be invited to Microsoft. I mean, a Gmail account, or it's been a while since I tried it or tested it, but I believe if you have a Gmail account, for example, and you are invited via that Gmail account to be a guest in Microsoft Teams, that you have to set a Gmail account as a Microsoft account. It will do that for you as part of the process. So so yeah, I tend to think it's better if you can. If for example, if you're in that organization, why would you not have an organizational account? But I had a customer only last week who said to me, I've got some staff members, but I don't want them to have an organizational email account. And my first question was, well, why? So always comes back to why.
Yeah, that's really amazing. I think I would let's take one more question, and then let's go ahead and play our Kahoot gaming. Let's see. Okay, one more question over there. So, is there a way to extract? I think that's been okay. Someone asked, why would I choose, Microsoft Teams over WhatsApp? I think this is really a good question. I mean, it's easy to answer, but yeah, you can go ahead and then give an answer there.
Sure. Well, first and foremost, get my teeth in. The best answer I can give on that, if I can speak, is security and control. As you saw in my presentation, Teams has a very, very rich administrative admin center where there is lots of security and compliance and controls available to users. What can you do with WhatsApp? I mean, I do have WhatsApp on my phone myself. I do use it for personal reasons. I would personally not ever use it for business reasons. I've not come across anybody who does that. I don't know if anyone can say otherwise. Maybe that's the case, but you don't have half of the business controls and also the integration with other aspects of Microsoft 365. I mean, I'm not even sure if WhatsApp is a connector that you can add into Teams. That's a very interesting question, actually. Let's see if it's in there. If I go into apps within Teams, I'm not sharing my screen anymore, but take my word that I'm searching for it. WhatsApp. No, it's not in there. So WhatsApp, I think, of very much as a consumer communication tool, whereas Teams very much more. Well, Teams is a global tool, but it's primarily business. But there's a lot more security, compliance, integration with other Microsoft 365 services. So that is why I would always choose Teams.
Amazing. Yeah. So the bottom line is that Microsoft Teams is for collaboration and it's for businesses, to use very much. Most businesses. I mean, a typical example is our company, Bezo Money. We used to use Microsoft Teams. We used to use WhatsApp for our communication, but we also realized that we don't just feel so much comfortable using WhatsApp for our business conversations, right? And looking at all the exporting feature, and later on when we want to export the data and all those stuff. And apart from that, we were also using Slack for our communication, and that didn't go so much well. So that made us to jump over to using WhatsApp more. Then at a point we realized that, okay, what tools can we just get to do everything? So I said, you know what, guys, I think Microsoft Teams can help us. And then we also, just to add, we're also using Google Meet for our meetings. So all using a lot of tools for just one thing. Microsoft Teams gives you everything: video calling. There are artificial intelligence, embedded into all this stuff. You can even clear your background and put another background over there. There's just so much that you could do with Microsoft Teams that WhatsApp is nowhere near there. So, Fox.
Agreed. Yeah, absolutely agreed.
Yeah.
Great points.
Exactly. So, how do we know about upcoming functions to Teams? Stay in touch with Microsoft Teams on Twitter. Do you have one more thing so that I will just share my screen and then let's play the game? I think the game is ready now. Peter, do you want to answer that?
Oh, how to keep up to date with Microsoft Teams? Well, as you said, keep in touch with Twitter. They have the @Microsoft Teams Twitter handle in there. Many Microsoft handles in there. You can get good information, but a really good way to keep up with Teams, but everything Microsoft 365, is to look at the Microsoft 365 roadmap website, which I will put the link to it in the chat. Actually, let me just M365 roadmap. And it's a really great place to see what is in development, what's currently rolling out, what has recently been launched, and you can filter the roadmap site by product, by platform, by release phase, by cloud instance, and you can also download it to an Excel, CSV, or even get it as an RSS feed. So definitely, I will put that in the Q&A right now. There awesome. It is. Take a look at that. You'll see everything that's coming.
Awesome. That's really amazing and great insight over there. Okay, so we are live with the Kahoots. You can check on the screen. I'm sharing my screen. I hope you can all see it. Go to kahoot.it, log in with your name, and then also the code, and be ready to win some water bottle. And unfortunately, we have two, but I think we have like we have the first guy who won. Uncle Sam won the other time, so he has 2 water bottles. And then we have Rebecca also winning 2 water bottles. So you can see one person is just having it, or Edwin, and then Winner. Winner, you need to identify yourself so that we give each of you a water bottle as well. And you also have a t-shirt that you've won for yourselves. Log in, make sure that you are logging in, and then stand the chance of winning your own water bottle. It's been really amazing session. Whoa, I'm really enjoying the bootcamp, but it's very sad. I know nothing about it, and I wish to meet someone in here who is in Tamale to teach me how to use Microsoft 365 developer program after the bootcamp. Thank you so much. It's sad that you only joined us today, but we have all the sessions recorded, so you can still join in. Hello. Please make sure you all join in for the fun game to begin. Hey, Rebecca, are you all having problem? I'm guessing these releases would differ from company adoption timelines. Great, thanks, Peter. Rebecca, I think I should get in touch and know you better, because it looks like you are really good at all the tech stuff we've been talking about, and you obviously have been super active, and we are so excited to have you as part of the community here. Thank you so much, Ramiro, and then Peter, for doing this with every one of us. We are super excited that you took out your time. And attendees, just to mention that, I mean, yesterday I was basically talking to our support from Microsoft that the fuel for every speaker is just motivation, right? It's you filling out the Q&A and then providing the feedbacks that is needed so that we can improve with time. So I'm just going to share the link for you to take the the survey from Microsoft that would be used to track all the sessions and how you enjoyed it, and then we can improve it more sometime. Thank you so much for taking our time to join us. I hope you've all logged into Microsoft, the kahoot.it. Please, we are giving just 1 minute more to go. Make sure you join over there. What was the exciting part that you actually enjoyed in this whole bootcamp that we ran? Put it in the chat. Let us know what was the exciting thing, what's the fun thing that you learned whilst we were part of this bootcamp. Cuddy, is your background noise gone? Okay, so Khadija seemed to be quiet behind the scene. Peter, sorry. So I think we have a good more numbers. We can get started with this. If you join, you can join with this pin, and then let's go ahead. So let me switch on the volume here, and then I'll share, include system audio. I'll just click on start. Let's get started to end this up. Okay, so we have 7 questions. Aside Microsoft Teams, what other collaboration tool is available in, oh, sorry, it's supposed to be Microsoft 365. It's fine. So let's go ahead. I actually increased the time because some of you said there were delays and you weren't able to answer and all this stuff. So I increased the time. So
nobody had it right.
No one got it right. Oh, sorry. I think this was probably more difficult as I did not, arrange it well. All right. So SharePoint and Yammer is the correct answer because Peter was actually asking you between Microsoft Teams, SharePoint, and Yammer, which one would you choose, right? Peter, are we right about it?
Yes, exactly. And again, I have to apologize because I tricked you all. There is no answer.
Yeah. So let's go to next. So who is leading? No one, but obviously there is a winner. So Alex is at the top. We have Dochi, we have Uncle Sam, we have Rebecca again. So let's go ahead. Question number 2. You can be in teams and work in Yammer. True or false? Maybe so, not true. Which of them would you choose as your answer? Very quick. Oh, okay. So only one person had it. Oh wow! I think this time around we are really tricking most of you. You can. So I took it literally from the words of Peter. So let's go ahead and check who is leading. Winner is winning with 943 points, and everyone is at 0. Let's go ahead and check. Microsoft 365 brings together premium Office apps like Word, Excel, PowerPoint with 1 terabyte of storage, cloud storage and more. Oh, that was fast. 4 people had it this time. All right, let's go check. Who is going to be at the top? Okay, so winner still stays at the top. Rebecca dropped off. Uncle Sam is at the third. And then we have Doche coming up, and Lex being at the down. So admin.teams.microsoft.com gives us a lot of control to manage our team. That is not true. Okay, so I think this time around I made it a bit difficult. I'm sorry about that. Let's see who is winning. Okay, so winner stays at the top. Doche stays there, and then we would have some couple of folks joining soon. Microsoft Teams have a lot of security. True or false? Not true. False. True. Okay, true. All right. So let's see who is winning. We have 2,806. For the first winner, and then everyone else is climbing. Remember, it's the first, second, third that get the water bottle. So last question, if Doche is able to take over, then we mean someone is going to get the water bottle over there. So let's go to next. Teams template is one of the new things added to Microsoft Teams. True, false? All right, get over it. Let's go there. Uncle Sam still stays in the race, and that brings us to the end of our. From the admin.microsoft Teams, we can set Teams messaging policy. True, false? All right, everyone else had it. Khadija, what do you think about all this? Who is going to win?
I think winner, because considering the range, he was 2,000 somewhere with the points, and the others were somewhere 1,000 and below. So I still assume if everybody had it right, then it's going to be winner.
Amazing.
Well, that's my thought. Yeah.
Well, maybe we should ask Peter. Peter, who is going to win?
I couldn't possibly guess. It's too tricky. Actually, whilst I'm speaking though, I do have to jump off, unfortunately. I'm going to have to say goodbye because I do have to go on a...
Yeah, thank you so much for taking time.
Thank you so much for having me. I do appreciate it, and I look forward to maybe doing some more with you again.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you so much, Peter. We'll reach out to thank you personally, and then please go follow Twitter, follow Peter on Twitter, and then look out for the recording. Ramiro and we had winner being the winner this time around. Doche and Becca falling on, and then we have Edwin and Uncle Sam again on. Thank you so much.
Please, can you mute the Kahoots?
Yes.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, so in the first time we had Uncle Sam winning, winner being the second, and Edwin being the third.
Oh.
And then the second time we had winner winning, Edwin being the second, and then Uncle Sam being the third. All right, grab me some shots, and then let's make sure to award those that were able to get it. However, we are going to look forward for a tweet from all of you, and then we will select 1 or 2 people to win more bottles. And then please make sure that you all take the survey because we would also use that to make sure that we award all of you what is due. Thank you so much for joining us. Ramiro, it's been a pleasure having you. You've actually spent all your time here with us and we are really excited. What is the best advice that you would like to give out to folks that have, began their path on Microsoft 365 journey?
Just go ahead and keep pushing on and keep learning and keep experimenting with everything that you find.
Amazing, amazing. Just one more question, I think, is what in terms of job, how would Microsoft 365? How would one be able to take this as his daily job or something?
So there's so many different ways that you can go through and follow this as a job path. One of them would be, just working as a Power Apps developer. There's places out there for that. And even just working as a Microsoft consultant, right? Helping companies learn how to use Microsoft, their SharePoint, Power Apps, Yammer, Teams. There's all different avenues that companies look for to get that experience and be able to get experts on board.
Amazing, amazing. So that is it. You can actually use this as your profession, and organizations are looking forward for to use collaboration tools. If you're able to convince them, we have Power Apps, we have a huge amount of things in Microsoft 365 that you can leverage on to become a developer specifically for that. And I think, Ramiro, one of the things that I realized was that during this lockdown, there were organizations that were looking for people who are just good in Power Apps to employ them. I don't know whether you saw something like that too.
Yes, definitely. As low code starts becoming more popular and mainstream, a lot of companies are trying to get away from the more higher code level programs and start building it themselves to save costs and time.
Amazing, amazing. So that was Ramiro, and then he has tons of stuff that he does. Let me just go on Twitter and then grab his Twitter handle and then just share it with you in the chat. Please follow all of them. This brings us to the conclusion of today's session. It was nice doing all this with you. We are looking forward for some tweets, and then we'll select the winner who gets tweets the best one, and then we would want to do this again with you. We will keep you in communication if on the 4th we'll be able to run that last part of us. And I think I have one guy will be awarding here. CodeItSoft, please let us know more about you on WhatsApp so that we can give you what all the awards. And I would like all the attendees please join in and then take the survey and then thank the speakers on our behalf, because they've really invested time to be here, and we are super excited that they all took our time and then they taught us a lot today. Thank you so much, Ramiro. This is Ramiro's website. You can go and then follow up. I think I have Peter as well. Peter Rising. Here is Peter's. Let me just copy the link, paste it there as well. So go search on them and follow them. They have cool tweets. You were asking of how to stay updated. Following them is, a great way to be updated with all the fields, because they are really doing all the to help by tweeting and then running event. Thank you so much. With this, I will just call out Khadija to leave some last words so that we end today's session.
Thank you very much, Dawood. I just wanted to add something in the last session. How can one maintain a job, or what people have used Microsoft Teams during this pandemic? I think I've gone through a whole bootcamp and a training on Microsoft Teams by Azubi Africa, where we even had our graduation. So it's a great tool, especially in our times of Corona, and I'll urge everyone to get the application. And I think most of us would have had the application, and that's why we are on, or maybe we are using the web session. But then I would entreat everyone to get it and learn it very well. You can give trainings, you can give resource materials for your trainers, your trainees, your students and all. And thank you very much for joining. We were here from morning till afternoon from Ghana. I don't know the time at other places, but thank you very much. And the speakers, thank you very much, especially Ramino, Adam, Alex, and Wood. Thank you so much for taking much of my job too.